Just we need another 6 more weeks of winter.
Could they blindfold them? Something.
Seriously, there was no sun today. It was snowing everywhere. How the hell did he see a shadow? How about you turn the street light off or do it a little later in the day?
I think it's rigged.
Maple syrup dripping from his fake road. Who did he see when he heard who was there? Now it seems.
All right, everybody, welcome out to the Lager Room. It is Tuesday, March the 2nd, 2021. Jersey Johnny coming at you. And with me, as always, is none other than Mr. Beer Samurai. Say hello, Mr. Samurai.
Hey, guys, and happy Destroy a Stress Ball Day.
Happy Destroy a Stress Ball Day.
Oh, yeah.
What the hell is that?
Sometimes you just get those situations where a stress ball does no good, and it can do good, but just squeezing it isn't going to do anything. So sometimes you've got to tear that thing to shreds.
Just rip it apart.
Yeah, just rip it apart. And I just relocated from Rhode Island this past weekend, and
Yes, you did.
Stressful. So new digs behind me.
Yes, they are. And if anybody, any longtime watchers of the show can tell he's not in the same location he normally was. So
no, and hopefully
this is your third location technically, because you started the show out on the roof.
On the roof, yeah. Then I finally sprung for internet and went inside because it was starting to get cold, and there was
a little bit.
There was that tornado I almost got caught in.
That was a fun tornado. That was good.
That was awesome. And you know what? That piece of furniture that got lifted and taken away is still sitting in the back of that courtyard.
It's still sitting in the courtyard.
It's still sitting in the courtyard.
That was October.
I know. It's still sitting up there.
Crazy.
That place is the hood.
By the way, in case anybody's wondering, yes, Dave is eating. At the beginning of every show, he is eating every show.
Well, it's kind of taken a little by surprise, but I'm trying to discover new places to eat because, well, I'm in a new place. So
This is true.
So, from the environs of Kearney, New Jersey, the Beer Samurai broadcasts.
There you go.
But actually, so really today is National Banana Cream Pie Day.
National Banana Cream Pie. Wasn't last week National Banana Bread Day?
I like bananas. Shut up.
Are you making these days up, or are you in charge of the calendar?
No, apparently Dole is.
Chiquita's in charge of the national calendar.
But
they're making stress balls now too.
Yeah, for me to destroy. Make stress balls. Dave's always stressed.
There you go.
But banana cream pie, that was my grandfather's favorite. For his birthday every year, my mom would make him a banana cream pie.
Banana cream pie is good.
Yeah, but he's gone, she's gone. I've got her pie plates, but I don't know that I'll ever be able to make a banana cream pie. I'm not sure if I'll ever be able to find the pie plates again. Any rate,
move as often as you have been, then it kind of makes it a little more difficult. So.
Oh my goodness! So, but banana cream. See, now if I'd only 4 days ago, I could have had myself a good banana cream pie.
Where could you have had yourself a good banana cream pie, Dave? 4 days ago.
If you follow them on Facebook, you will have noticed that Cloverleaf Tavern had banana cream pie.
The
4 days
Cloverleaf
ago.
Tavern
had
banana cream pie on special?
That's that place in Caldwell. Have you heard of it?
I think I've heard of it. I might have been there once.
Yeah, we may have been there once or twice.
Once or twice.
100 times.
It's in Caldwell, right?
It is in Caldwell, where you used to live.
I used to live in Caldwell. I did.
Right. And, well, we both know the owner.
Yes, we do.
And it would be cool if we had him on the show.
I think we can have him on the show. Ready?
Yeah, make that work.
He's on the show. Look at that. Ladies and gentlemen, say hello and welcome to Mr. Ryan Dorchak. There he is.
There he is.
Owner of Cloverleaf Tavern in Caldwell, New Jersey. There he is. Thanks for coming on the show, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Any banana cream pie left?
It sold out in 2 days.
So who's going to say 2 hours?
So.
I'll tell you what I'm looking forward to, because I haven't had it in a while. I'm looking forward to soda bread.
Yeah, March 10th.
There you go.
I'm going to write that down with a pen I stole from Cloverleaf Tavern.
So he's the pen thief. 2 days ago, or the day after we had Augie on the show, or one day Augie actually hijacked the Jesse Ferguson show for half an hour. He pulled out a carton pen. So apparently he's got pens of every guest on the show. So
There's a goal.
Imagine that. Go for that. Brian Alt just wants to make his appearance known and mention that doesn't Bolero make a banana cream pie beer? I'm sure they do.
Anything that's pie or
sure
cake related, cookie
cream,
related.
pie, fruit. Yeah, that's probably Bolero. Yeah. So
speaking of fruit, can we open beers?
Why don't we open beer? I don't have a fruit beer, but I know you do.
I do. I've got a fruited sour here.
So why don't we start with your beer there, Dave?
Let me get it closer to the here.
What do you got there?
So this is my farewell to Rhode Island beer.
Dave's doing a farewell to Rhode Island.
This is Deciduous and Long Lived did a collaboration, so it's also a little bit of a farewell to New Hampshire because it's kind of close. There
you go.
Right. And this one is called Neon Lollipop. So this has got a cool. Look at this. Why am I always drinking pink beers? Oh, and look what I'm drinking it out of.
A Cloverleaf glass. Look at that.
And I didn't steal the glass. I actually paid for the glass.
I haven't seen one of those in a while.
Yeah, because Dave took it.
Remember the skinny stem tulips?
Yeah.
Skinnier ones? That got broke in my last move.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Because I haven't seen those in a while either.
There you go. How was that?
It's deciduous and long lived. What do you think? This is yummy. It's sour alcoholic fruit punch.
There you go. Mr. Dorchak, what are you drinking?
Yeah, I have pulled one out of the cellar. It's probably got about maybe 10 months on it or so. It's a Kane Driftwood.
Very nice.
The rye barrel-aged variant.
Very nice.
Beautiful cellar of his.
That's a gorgeous cellar.
We may have to bring that back into discussion later on.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to talk about the cellar a little later. But how is that?
Smelling pretty good.
So that's the cedar aged version of Driftline, you said?
Rye whiskey barrels.
Rye whiskey barrel.
With maple syrup and molasses.
I'm not sure.
I have no idea where I got cedar from.
Very nice. I can tell from here that it's great beer. So
yeah, since it's a brown ale base, you get a little more of that, oak and maple goodness in there,
And Driftline is a great beer to begin with.
Right.
So, myself, I will be drinking. Let me put this scroll on. Just released last week from Source. Shocker, I'm drinking a Source. Ultra Waiti. It's one of the single silo series, single hop beers that Mr. Greg and Mr. Jeremy brew up. I'll be pouring it right here. I unfortunately do not have a Cloverleaf glass. I used to have some Cloverleaf glasses.
We're gonna have to remedy that for you.
I used to, years ago I had some Cloverleaf glasses, but they I lost them somewhere.
Would that be the Inferno?
Something like that. Yeah, they melted. So, but I'll be drinking out of a Source glass. It's not quite a Liz pour, but
no, it's got a nice head to it.
It's got a nice head to it. So. Oh, it's nice.
But I think it really bears mentioning. John's kind of dodging the subject a little bit.
No,
but John's
not.
You're getting to your beer. That's why. But how long ago was it that your house burnt down?
Geez, 4.5 years ago.
And it was 4.5 years ago, and a day less that Ryan put together a benefit dinner for you. Correct?
Yeah, and there was three of us. Three families lost the houses to the ground, gone. And within a day, Ryan and the Cloverleaf had a benefit together for us all, and it was an amazing night. And I'll thank him to this day for doing that, and continue to. It was amazing that he did that. And then a month, not even a month later, he had another one. So, just never stopped. Great, awesome. Thank you so much, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have a great, just a great supportive community that just they all came out for it, and it was great to see.
Absolutely.
Well, that's the whole thing about that I've always admired about yourself, your father. Probably, I didn't know you. Obviously, didn't know your grandfather, but the community. The way you're tied into the community so deeply is amazing. Not just what you did for John, but you've done benefits for other people. And then when COVID hit and everything shut down, and when you were finally able to open again, the community came out and supported, did they not?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. We wouldn't have been able to make it if it wasn't for, the people around us, that came out in droves. We never actually closed. So we were open for business. Right. We shifted immediately straight to takeout.
Mm-hmm.
So we kept our takeout business going. We went to curbside right away, and it was a learning curve, and we basically fell flat on our face the first week and a half, 2 weeks, and we had to kind of relearn and our new business model.
Sure. Well, your learning curve was pretty flat though, because you took off after that. One of the first things you did was you tore up the kitchen floor, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, we actually had that scheduled for the week after St. Patrick's Day anyway.
That was happening anyway.
Yeah, that was happening anyway. So we actually pushed back on that, and we waited. We postponed that for a couple months, and then we ended up doing that in May.
Gotcha.
Okay.
When did you? When were you? I mean, obviously, you said you switched right to takeout and curbside pickup mode right away, and then getting your feet wet and doing all of that stuff. When were you able to open back up again? When did you open right away? When it went back to 25%? When they opened
yeah.
Back
So
up
actually, outdoor.
Outdoor was first, right?
We were 100% closed up until mid-June is when they actually first. I think it was the beginning, right towards the middle of June. They actually allowed outdoor dining.
Right, the outdoor.
So we went through a couple months time where it was absolutely gorgeous out, and we couldn't even have patrons outside.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So we were doing curbside for 2 or 3 months, 100% curbside. We actually shifted. We shrunk down from 24 drafts down to we were down to about four or five drafts, just because we wanted to keep things fresh and keep things turning. Our first initial thought was let's purge all of our draft. We didn't know what was going on. We didn't know what was going to happen. So we purged all our draft lines down to like a zero inventory. But all of a sudden we realized that there was a massive demand for packaged goods. There were still a ton of people that weren't stepping foot outside of their house. So we realized within about 2 weeks time, that I was actually making a mistake. I was purging all of my inventory so I wouldn't have to carry anything when I realized that we were actually, selling in a massive amount of retail. A little bit harder for us as a restaurant because we carry a lot more costs than a liquor store would.
Sure.
So we have to charge a little bit more for it, but people were buying it. So, our bar room, and I'll send you guys a picture, but our bar room looked like a retail store. I mean, we had cases piled high. People were coming in, kind of shopping for beer that way, and ordering it online.
That's awesome. And you were, pardon me, you were like as you said, you had to charge a little bit more for it. But the fact is, some of the drafts that you had, where anybody would have had to go to find those particular drafts,
right?
Or not even drafts, obviously bottles in the store. Would have cost them more in gas the extra little bit that you were charging. So.
Yeah, and I think people were drinking more of the canned stuff during that time.
Sure.
Then we started seeing,
Mm-hmm.
then we started seeing a demand coming back for like growlers, which led us into getting our crowler machine. We ended up getting our crowler machine in August, and then selling a ton of crowlers, ton of growlers, a lot of packaged goods that way.
Nice. That's awesome to change gears like that, and that you adapted, as best you could. And that was anything that anybody. I mean, every business had to do adapting to some degree. Breweries obviously switching to 90, 95 or more percent cans and package. Even with home deliveries and package stores. I mean, I've talked to a couple distributors. I've said this before on the show. I've talked to a couple distributors that say they're actually their sales are up. They're not their sales. Their off-prem sales are up than they from this time last year. So they've found more business in off-prem, obviously because of because of the non going into sitting at a bar and drinking the way they used to. But anyway,
the thing is, Cloverleaf, as much as it's known as a craft beer bar, you're also known for your cocktails.
Yeah.
So you had to go to. When did you start offering the to-go cocktails? I know you had the non-alcoholic kits first, right?
Right. So that was another big saving platform for us because we were just we were looking for ways. We were brainstorming every day with the few people that we had because we had, believe it or not, we actually laid off probably close to 60-70% of our workforce out of the gate. So we had a smaller team to work with, and we were brainstorming different ideas. And we said, maybe we'll make some cocktail kits. We'll prepare everything but the alcohol because at that time there was no bill that allowed us to actually package the alcohol with, in a container. So
right.
We started to create, basically margaritas with just add tequila or lemonades, just add tequila. And we were using fresh squeezed juices. So we started putting out these cocktail kits and they were just selling out. We couldn't even keep up. Cinco de Mayo, we ended up selling close to 300 margarita kits.
Oh, wow.
Which was spectacular. Yeah.
That's great.
That's amazing.
Awesome. Yeah, really. Well, it's great that you were able to get through all of that. And now you're back to, everything's up to 35% now, right?
Correct. We're at 35.
Correct. And there's scuttlebutt on the street that somewhere right around St. Paddy's Day, maybe just before, just after, I would imagine probably just after, they're looking at maybe going up to 50. That's what I've heard. I've heard word on the street. I don't know if you've heard any of that. Or
I
what
have
I've
not.
Yeah.
We've been also fortunate that we have a town that has allowed us to utilize their back parking lot. So the
That's
township
great.
of Caldwell, and they're also letting us put the tent back up actually next week, right before St. Patrick's
Nice.
Awesome.
So
So
that space too. That's great.
Yeah, that tent really, really not only helped us from a business standpoint, but also with that tent, we were able to employ an additional close to 20 more individuals.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and we'll bring back 15 more people once that tent's put up.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, I'm glad to hear that you got through everything, so far with everything that's going on thus far. But it's like it seems like the home stretch is there, but it's a wait and see at this point. And fingers crossed, everything continues down that same road. Let's go back a little bit, historical wise. What year was your grandfather that founded that started the tavern, right?
Yeah, my grandfather was 23 years old. It was 1933. Prohibition had just ended, and he was a milkman over in Roseland, New Jersey. He was working on Becker's farm at the time. So he wanted to do something a little bit different. Came over here to Caldwell, got the first liquor license issued, and found a location. At the time, there was a building here that housed the bakery in our present location.
Mm-hmm.
It was called the Bake Shop, and their logo was a shamrock. So the thing is, my grandfather was 100% Czech. So there was no Irish blood in him. Fortunately for me, my grandmother was Irish.
There you go.
His wife.
There you go. Oh man, that's great. So that's where I got the cloverleaf from. Just taking it off of the shamrock.
Right.
And the original space was really just where the bar is now, up to the columns, right?
Correct.
That was just a small space.
Yeah, it's skinny.
Yeah, so it was a tight location. And my grandfather it was a whole different time back then. I mean, there was an ordinance in town that was actually illegal to serve women across the bar.
Really?
Really?
And that ordinance stayed in effect until 1970.
Oh, wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So my grandfather passed away in 1975. He never served a woman on his bar for his entire lifetime.
Wow.
As crazy as that is.
That is nuts.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Now explain the wheelbarrow.
So the wheelbarrow, that was a bet. So back in 1940, there was a bet between my grandfather and one of his regulars on the presidential election. So it was Roosevelt, and my grandfather was betting on Roosevelt, and whoever lost the election had to push the winner down the center of Bloomfield Avenue in a wheelbarrow.
That's great.
And we know who won.
Yeah, there you go. That's right. Love that. Love that story. Let's really quick before we continue. Let's just catch up on a couple of comments. Bob Kozlarek, I'm assuming I'm saying that right. Hudson County had the same ordinance about women, he said. I actually didn't know that.
That's crazy.
Bill Malloy said, "Yay for the tent." And he also said, "MBA night" with an exclamation point. And did you sell much from the cellar? I think he's hoping your answer is no, so he can hopefully drink some of it.
For the first Tuesday of every month, correct? Was MBA night?
Sure.
Tonight with Captain Lawrence.
There you go.
Captain Lawrence.
And
now MBA. Now we're talking about the.
Speaking of that, got to get in one from Brian. He's a proud holder of 2 MBAs and 3 PhDs, and one is even from an accredited institution. So.
Hey, come on! Cloverleaf's an accredited institution.
Yeah, and, exactly.
And I need a glass of water here.
Oh, jeez.
Showing off his mug.
He's just he shows off his mug every day. We have the podcast. He shows off his mug. But in any event, yeah. So that wheelbarrow story is great, though. I think we're about to get a.
We're getting a cellar tour.
A cellar tour.
We can eventually do a cellar tour. I'm actually going to grab my phone charger because my phone's on its way out.
Well, that'll work too. But in any event, all right. So while you're getting that, I'll ask you this: what's it called? You took over in, what was it, 2007, right?
Yeah. I came into the business in 1994 part time.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I graduated college in 97. And then I came in full time that following year. Mm-hmm. And then my father retired in 2007. So
that was all on you. Was there much craft beer sold before you took over?
Yeah, so that's an interesting story. Basically,
not that there really was much craft,
yeah,
like much in the sense of the word back then. So.
Yeah, the Cloverleaf Tavern, I always look at the Cloverleaf Tavern and Andy's Corner as kind of like the two pioneers in New Jersey.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
We had, so my father, basically, we kind of stumbled upon, more craft by the ousting of Anheuser-Busch.
Gotcha.
So it was the late 70s. My father loved to have a selection of beer. One of those in the selection, obviously, was the obvious choice of Anheuser-Busch because Budweiser had pretty much monopolized the market at that point in time.
Of course.
However, because they had monopolized the market, they basically liked to shit on the little guys. And we were just a little guy.
They still do.
They still do to this day.
I was going to say,
not
past tense on that phrase.
Yep. So he had, one day he was just like, the hell with you guys. They didn't want to bring, they literally dropped they used to drop the beer outside and was like, you're responsible for bringing it in and rotating the stock. And they said, he said, the hell with you. Got rid of them. And what had happened was he knew that people that were coming into the bar, they came in and they said, give me a Bud. That's what everybody said when they came into the bar in the 70s. And his response to that was, I don't serve Bud, but I have everything else that's available in New Jersey. And at that time, he was able to literally stock everything that was available in New Jersey.
Right.
And he always wanted to kind of maintain that. When people came in for a Budweiser, he always wanted to make sure that he had everything but Bud. So as the market started to change, we started to see some of the Western beers actually making their ways out here. like Red Hook, and then some of our own breweries start popping up. Cricket Hill, River Horse, Flying Fish.
Sure.
All those breweries started popping up, and we would obviously embrace those. And those breweries, when they would open, they would come to us because they knew that we were carrying their beer. We wanted to help support that local beer. We wanted to help support the craft beer movement. And that's kind of how we evolved, as a craft beer bar. The only difference between us and Andy's was, we didn't discriminate against the macro drinkers.
They do that at Andy's?
They don't have anything for them there.
No.
They don't have any for their type.
No, you can't do that there. But of course. You got to have something for those. I mean,
And I've always said, I've always said there's two types of beer drinkers. There's beer drinkers who drink for the beer, and there's beer drinkers who drink for the alcohol. Mm-hmm. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with either type, right?
Right.
It's just those who drink for the alcohol drink beer that doesn't really taste like anything.
Right.
Right. That's why it's got to be served ice cold. That's why the mountains have to be blue, so you can't taste it.
Exactly.
Because God forbid if those mountains turn white, you don't want to spit it out quick.
No. You don't want that. You don't want that.
Yeah.
Old dirty water sometimes tastes better than certain beers. And I'm not singling any particular ones out. And hey, knock yourself out. Drink what you want. I'm fine with that. But for me, that's the case. So, and I profess it. I've said it. Even when I was a kid, sneaking a beer here and there or whatever. Even then, I didn't like Budweiser. I really didn't. I couldn't have any.
Always gave me a headache.
Yeah, always. Honestly, I was always say that. If I drank a Bud, I would get a headache, and I'm not talking about like the next morning. I'm talking about like a half an hour later, I'd have a headache. So, but I don't appreciate that. But in any event, let's talk about the MBA and PhD program. So you got into, you took over. There's a lot more craft. Craft started to become more and more prevalent. There was a lot more breweries coming into Jersey, more Jersey breweries opening up. Yeah. And then enter your your schooling.
I'm going to rewind a little bit.
Sure.
Back when I first turned of age, my father invited me out to his annual trip that he took to Colorado with the folks at Ale Street News. Okay. They took a trip out to Colorado where they would go to the Great American Beer Fest. So sure. They would fly out, they would visit a few different breweries, and then the trip would culminate at the Great American Beer Fest. Mm-hmm. That was kind of like a huge eye-opening experience for me because at the time there was pretty much zero beer culture in New Jersey. So going out to Colorado was almost like time warping to today in New Jersey. I went out to Colorado and I visited these breweries and I tried these different beers. And then I went to the Great American Beer Festival in 1994 and I was blown away by the stuff that they were doing with beer. And, the common thing out there was every single table that I stopped at, I'd say, can I get this stuff in New Jersey? No. Can I get this stuff in New Jersey? No. So the only things that I could get in New Jersey at the Great American Beer Fest were the representation from New Jersey that was out there.
Sure.
But that was, when I came back from that trip, I said, I can't believe there's so much amazing beer out there. And our community isn't embracing that. And even for 10 years after that experience, I tried to push that culture. I tried to cultivate that culture within the four walls of the Cloverleaf Tavern. Mm-hmm. And that was my inspiration for the MBA because we used to bring in all this craft beer and believe it or not, 50% or more of the people that were coming through the doors were very focused on their brand. They were set on their brand loyalty. Right. Okay, Sam Adams is my craft beer. Sierra Nevada is my craft beer. Flying Fish is my beer. That's the one I'm drinking. So the the focus of the MBA program was to twist people's arms through the different types of rewards that we had set up to get them off of their brand loyal beer and to get them to try beer. Because we were bringing in this great beer and we were sitting on it because people weren't trying it.
Right.
And it was better than a lot of the other stuff that they were drinking. So the MBA program not only helped us turn over inventory, but more importantly, kind of forced people to try new things. And it worked phenomenally. I mean, people started tasting things and people started saying, like, nowadays you don't need that motivation. But, 15, 20 years ago, the MBA program was needed to get people out of their comfort zone, to get them to try new beers, to get them, and a lot of the stuff, believe it or not, a lot of the stuff that they were drinking at the time, they didn't love, but occasionally they would find something they would love. And more importantly, they would develop their palate throughout that journey.
Right.
So they're tasting different things. Oh, I don't really like this that much. I don't really like this that much. But every beer that they drank, their palate was developing. Their palate was growing. Before they knew it, by the end of their journey, wow, I like Hefeweizens, and I don't like the sours that much. I like IPAs. I like hop forward beers. I like malt forward beers. So they were kind of discovering what they liked and didn't like, and then, believe it or not, coming back to certain things. And even saying, "Oh wow, I didn't like that at first, but now I really enjoy that."
Sure.
So
absolutely.
that was the real, that was the satisfaction of the MBA program, is watching these people develop, watching these people really enjoy beer, watching them bring in others. I mean, there's hundreds of wives who, quote unquote, didn't like beer that ended up getting their MBAs and becoming beer drinkers.
Sure.
So and that's the kind of cool thing about the Cloverleaf Tavern, a place that once, turned women away, is now, embracing women in the craft beer movement.
Sure.
Right.
That's an excellent story.
And they're getting a larger and larger segment of it.
Yeah. Even much bigger than that.
Now, how many beers on? It's 45 for the MBA and then 60 for the PhDs.
Exactly. So once we developed that MBA program, I figured make one program, I'm good to go. So little did I know is that these people that were actually going through the program, they wanted more. They weren't satisfied. They drank the 45 beers. And then to do it again, it kind of gets a little monotonous. So I actually brainstormed with the first few graduates, and within a few months of their graduation, we decided to launch a second program called the PhD, making sure this program was a rotational program. We wanted the PhD program to be able to be repeated without people drinking the same beer. And since 2007, we've actually kept a seasonal rotational beer list that has never repeated one beer on that list.
That's impressive.
That's great.
So
now,
those individuals, there's some individuals who keep getting more and more PhD. I think someone's up to 40 PhDs, but
Ole's in the 30s, right?
Ole, yeah, I think he just hit 40.
Did he just 40?
Or,
who's got the most?
That's Ole.
Ole.
Oh, Ole's got the most. Okay.
Yeah.
Brian, get on it. You only got 3. Let's get going.
I've only got 3. I was working on my 4th when I moved.
You get a growler. You get a growler, double-walled growler on your 6th.
On your 6th? Yeah, maybe I've got some work to do then.
See that? Get going.
I'm happy with the 3rd. The only problem is I can't. I have no idea what happened to my cards. The cards are all gone. Something else probably lost in the move.
I was going to say you move enough, and that's what happens. But that's great though. What's how? I just got to ask you this question. How was it? What was it back in? I guess it was 2013, 2014, 2015, somewhere in there when craftbeer.com. Craft beer bar, craftbeer.com voted you the number 1 craft beer bar in the Northeast a couple years in a row, and then you were number 3 nationwide, I believe. Was that 2013, 2014?
Yeah, that was unbelievable.
Yeah,
that was surprising. We were We were honored. We were excited at the same time.
Remember the huge banner out in front?
Yeah,
Oh,
we
yeah.
put the banner up. We got a lot of
One behind the bar.
Sure.
yeah, a lot of. We started getting a lot of destination traffic,
Sure.
which was great. So
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been a really fun journey.
You've had some amazing tap takeovers over the years, and we'll get into beer dinners in a minute. But you had some amazing tap takeovers, and one of the staples you had every year was the first Tuesday in was it? It was first Monday.
September.
First Monday in September. Yeah, was Dogfish Head with the pumpkin through the Randall, and then everything else that they made. Basically, every tap.
That Randall, I remember when you got that Randall. The first thing through that was 90-minute through fresh. Was it fresh Cascade hops you put it through?
Man, your memory is better than mine.
Well, what had happened was I had blown the springs in my car, and I'd taken it down to the Firestone down the road, and I was aggravated as house at the bill. So I came in, I was like, I needed a beer. I go sit down. Ryan starts yelling at me, Dave, it's down here. I'm like, well, what the hell is he talking about? That was day one of the Randall, and man, I was only supposed to have one that day.
Yeah, that was the extent of dry hopping back in the day.
Beer Samurai were only supposed to have one beer that day.
I was supposed to get home, but
what day was that?
What was even worse is there was a paralegal that was there. He was there on his lunch, and he finally confessed to his boss what he was doing. His boss told him, "Man, just take the rest of the day off, man. I'll be down there in a minute."
There you go.
I think you had the first Randall in Jersey, didn't you?
Yeah, that was the first one in Jersey, and we were the first one to do a tap takeover. So, Dogfish Head came here, back in the late '90s, and Sam Calagione actually used to drive his pickup truck with kegs in the back of his truck to New Jersey. We were carrying 90-minute very, very early on as soon as he came into the market. And then they would release beers periodically. And we would always get every beer that they released periodically. And they were one of the first breweries to actually start doing that, is actually releasing some of their special releases on a monthly basis to, different markets. And he was bringing those up here. So I said, wouldn't it be cool if we just kind of stored away these one-offs that he was making, and saved them up and made an event out of it, and we just did all of our handles, with Dogfish Head. And at the time, we're talking almost, 11, 12 years ago, to have, all of those beers saved over time in one place was extraordinary, so it was really amazing. And it, the first time that we rolled out that event just exceeded all expectations. We had a kid, a Dogfish fanatic, who flew up from Florida for the event. It was insane. Really?
Did you have enough handle pulls for every tap?
Yeah, we did. Yep. We had some of the old vintage ones that Sam actually built with his father, so we used a bunch that we had over time. It wasn't all the same handle at the time. It was a bunch of different handles.
Oh yeah.
Had to take them off the wall.
Exactly.
Off the top of the walls. Yeah.
Brian said Dogfish Head defined the tap takeover.
There we go.
Cloverleaf defined the tap takeover with Dogfish Head. So I guess he's giving kudos to both.
I guess, yeah.
So, there you go. And he also said that he'd be happy to come in and drink some flights right now.
They're waiting for him.
There you go. Whatchamacallit? Yeah, I guess it was one of the first Dogfish Head tap takeover. I was at the bar. It was at 3:00. You tapped 120. That six-day kicked, tapped.
Yeah,
well,
tapped.
Yeah, tapped. What did it kick in? 15 minutes?
Yeah, they were quick back then.
It was like 15 minutes, right?
Yep.
I got one, but it was 15 minutes that sixth was gone, and they were only 8-ounce pours. So, it's not like you were pouring a 16-ounce pint glass, shaker pint of 120. So, yeah, that was a crazy day sitting there. But in any event, Brian was not there with me that day. Neither was Gene. Neither was Dave. It was Jess was there with me, and Scott Sedan was there with me too. So just to show
Scott.
Yeah. So it was the three of us sitting at the bar.
You and I may not have even known each other at that point.
No, we did. We did.
Did we?
Yeah, we did.
It's been that long.
It's been that long. We go way back. But in any event, yeah. So what were some of your other favorite? Obviously, Dogfish Head's going to hold a special place in my heart, and yours, and obviously there. But what were some of your other favorite tap takeovers you've done? Whether they were just one-offs or annual ones you did.
Yeah, Firestone Walker.
Sure.
Is one that we love just because I love the beers that they make, their stouts, their barrel age program, their sours are awesome. That was a big one. The biggest one that we've ever had to date and still remains super strong is the Kane.
Sure.
Yeah.
I remember back when Mike had brewed his first batch or one of his first few batches, and they stopped by with Glenn, and the first time I had sampled that beer, I knew that they were going to be something special. Yeah,
I think, and I'm going to maybe paraphrase, but maybe directly quote you here, because I came in when Head High had come in. That was the first, and I think Ryan was so exuberant about this beer. I came in, he said, "Dave, this is the best beer on the East Coast." Do you remember that?
I do.
And I looked at him like he was nuts. Like, it's made in Jersey. How could it be the best beer on the East Coast? Because I had not had a Kane at that point. Because who did? Right. One smell of it. I didn't even have to drink it. One smell of it, you knew this was special.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's our number one selling draft. Kane Head High.
Sure.
Really?
Sure.
Yeah. It's not hard to believe.
It's
and we
totally
were actually able to execute our Kane Tap Takeover prior to COVID last year. So that took place actually about a year ago on this 22nd of February. And then, believe it or not, we actually were able to maintain most of our event schedules throughout COVID. We just did them in a very, social distancing manner. And then we're actually going to still do our Kane Tap Takeover. I wanted to make sure we had the tent up and that we were able to social distance for that. So that's actually going to take place most likely in April this year instead of February.
Nice.
There you go.
Now in April, April traditionally was another tap takeover.
Yep. So Carton was usually was our April tap takeover.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the reason I'm wearing this shirt is was it their tap takeover or Kane was the first time that Guinness ever came off the tap rotation?
That was the dogfish back in the day. Yeah,
that's right. That was the dogfish.
Yeah, because we wanted to. I mean, back when we started doing tap takeovers, it started with dogfish, and it was just one annually, and that's actually the first time that the Guinness handle came off ever.
Then you know what, John? I was at that tap takeover. We just may not have been there at the same time.
I was there early on, so.
Yeah, I was probably there later.
Yeah, I was there. It was there during the day. I got there probably about between 12 and 1, and I was there till probably 3:30, 4 o'clock.
And I had a 9-to-5 job. So
there you go. Yeah, no. So speaking of the Carton Tap Takeover, really quick, just to not change gears or anything, but speaking of the Carton Tap Takeover, really quick, the picture right here that I used of you for the
whose arm is that? It's an orange.
Augie's on my right and Gene's on my left.
Yeah, well, no, Augie's on your right, and then here's the whole picture right there.
Okay, there's Gene. All right.
There's Augie and Chris Carton and Gene Lynch. There you go.
Nice.
But now, very interesting fact about this picture, though. Who took it?
You did.
I did, yes.
Anytime he says that, it's John.
But, that was funny because I saw that picture during the opening, photo there, and I said, I wonder if he's going to show that full photo later on the show.
Of course, yeah, I had it ready. So, but
this will not be the last time Gene gets mentioned in this show.
Oh no, definitely. He hasn't mentioned anything yet. So, wonder if he's watching. Gene, you watching? Come on, comment away. Bill just said, Head High took me down the evil MBA 1 and PhD 9.
9.
So, there you go.
Okay, he one up. He 3-upped both.
He
Brian
three
and
up you and Brian. Yeah, exactly. So good job. But you got a lot more to catch up to Ollie. So, wait a minute. And he said, and remember the Carton Tap Takeover during the blizzard. Yeah. Actually, I do.
That ended up being a two-day event because we had to continue it the following day.
Absolutely.
And then there was the after the was it Sandy? There was a big event after Sandy hit, and I remember where I lived in Lincoln Park at the time, and I was basically living on a peninsula and had to make it to Cloverleaf on a very, very circuitous path.
Well, it was easy for me and Jess to get to Cloverleaf whenever there was a blizzard. We just had to
you
walk.
just walked.
We just had to walk the 3 blocks.
People were more adventurous years ago.
Sure. But in any event, yeah, they're all the Tap Takeovers. Let me ask you this question: have you noticed differences from 10, 12 years ago in Tap Takeovers when they first when you first started doing them, when they first became prevalent to now?
Absolutely.
Yeah. What are
well, I mean, there's much more beer available nowadays.
Sure.
So that's the game changer. Years ago, not much, very little supply came into this market, and that supply was devoured. Whereas now we're getting much more supply. Obviously, not only from other states, we're getting much more supply from within our own state.
Sure.
Within our own state.
Well, not only that, the breweries, back in the day, the breweries didn't have as large catalogs as they have now.
Right. Yep.
Now they like to really seriously vary their offerings and rotate their offerings. So you can do like you do with the Dogfish Head, sit on a keg or two and make yourself, get enough kegs for a tap takeover.
Right.
In no time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Tap takeovers. I mean, I'll always still, enjoy going to them. But yeah, I think it has a little to do with the fact that, I mean, it's always been a case of, like I always say, like, if a Budweiser drinker is going to go to a bar and have 5 beers, he's going to go have 5 Budweisers, right? If a Heineken drinker is going to go to a bar and have 5 beers, he's going to have 5 Heinekens. Craft beer drinker is going to go to a bar, he's going to have 5 different beers.
5 different beers.
Okay. So.
And then have a 6th and a 7th because the list is so good that you
sure.
can have more.
Absolutely. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. But
your place is dangerous, Ryan.
Years ago, when you did Tap Takeovers, because there was less beer, not you personally, but just you people in general,
right?
Which we call it, because there was less, available breweries, if you will, having a 24-line Tap Takeover, even a 16-line Tap Takeover, even a little less, afforded them to have those differences. Now it seems to be, the younger ones anyway that I've noticed. It's not just a different beer; it's a different brewery. They don't want to, it's not just specifically, I'm going to have 5 or 6 or 7 different canes. I'm going to have maybe 2 canes, and then I want a source, and then I want Old Heights, and then I want that.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
and then I want some of this brewery that I've never heard of before.
Sure. Yeah, I got to try this one.
What they're like.
Because everybody's rating it. It's only got 12 ratings on Untappd, but they're all 5, so I got to have it. That kind of thing.
Yeah, and
not knowing it's all the family.
Funny story about Untappd is I went out to Founders in 2015. To go to one of the winter beer fests, and it was myself, a couple of the 100 in reps, some other person from Jersey, and we all flew out. And when we got to Founders, when we got to their brewery, we had our first beer, and I see everybody's typing on their phone and checking in their beer, and I'm like, what the hell are you guys doing? And they said, oh, we're checking our beer into Untappd. And I'm like, what the heck is Untappd? So they're like, yeah, it's an app where you check your beer in and you can rate it and so and so. And they go, you're actually on Untappd, Ryan, the Cloverleaf Tavern. I said, what? So I download the app for the first time in 2015, only to discover that I have 25,000 people who have checked in at my location. So
you're looking at 2 of them,
and 2 of them are on your podcast. Right?
I'm sitting there scratching my head and saying, "Oh my goodness, 25,000 people have checked into my establishment, and I didn't even know this darn app existed." So at that point, at that exact moment, I downloaded the app, realized that you could actually toast people for checking in, and I said, "I'm gonna be committed from this point forward to toasting every single individual that has a beer in my establishment." And I think now we're up to 190,000 check-ins.
Oh boy, gee, that's one tired thumb.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's crazy.
That's my last thing I do before I go to bed. Is I go onto the app and see what people have checked in.
Toast everybody that checked in.
Look at their comments. Give them a little toast.
Sure.
So John, if we get enough people together, we could make Ryan have a completely sleepless night.
We could do that.
Well,
We could
no,
just keep checking.
that was, trust me, during the Tap Takeovers, especially during the Kane, I would sit there for like an hour and a half toast.
Try to
Try to keep up with it during the day.
That's dedication.
You gotta love it. There you go. Brian just said, and he is. I get a toast on every beer. Yep, there you go. And I will say that it's after a certain point. Obviously, after you downloaded it, I did get a toast all the time too. So I will concur with Brian. Brian actually has a question for you. I'll throw it up. Bill just said every beer. Yep. Brian actually has a question. He says, do you find ride-sharing services like Uber are making a difference for your business? Obviously, pre-COVID.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Sure.
I mean, we used to offer cabs to people, but the closest cab company was down in Montclair. So
sure.
Sometimes it would take an hour for people to get a ride. But I think that is fantastic because it's making it easier for people. And when you make it easier for people, more people are taking, aren't gonna risk it as much.
Sure.
You know.
Sure.
So it makes it very easy, and I think people are making better decisions prior to drinking, which is the key component. People are saying, I'm going to Uber to the Cloverleaf so I can drink and Uber home. This way they don't even have the option.
Sure.
If they do put the beer goggles on and think they can drive,
right.
You know?
Right.
And Brian has definitely done that from Cedar Grove, so I can attest to that. So, but in any event, yeah, no, absolutely.
I wish Uber was around during that snowstorm event.
I wish Uber was around for
there were probably many times, right, Dave?
Well, yeah, because what was it? The next day, I tried to, because you said it was a 2-day event. I tried to come the next day, but I couldn't find parking because the streets were just
right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 days later, I get or 2 days later, I get a text from Ryan. It's a picture of the streets finally plowed. Hey, we finally got a spot for you.
Sure, yeah, come on down there. Come on. Well, that's amazing. Got to love all of that. I got to ask you. Let's get back to your cellar. How passionate are you about your cellar? What goes into making your cellar your cellar?
Well, it's something that kind of debunks the myths of beer, right? I mean, everybody thinks, especially years ago. I mean, everybody thought that, you can't sit on beer. You have to drink it fresh.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been a proponent of educating people on what myths are out there about beer, and one of my big things was, aging, letting beer sit and develop. And that's an interesting story because it happened for me by mistake. When I kind of let a beer sit around for too long. And I didn't, realize what I had done, but then I tasted it. I said, wow, this beer is actually developed. And when I originally tried the beer fresh, it was okay to me. And when I tried it aged, it was absolutely amazing.
Sure.
What beer was that?
It was actually, it was a Captain Lawrence beer. And funny that we're actually having an MBA night with them tonight, but it was a Smoke from the Oak.
Smoke from the Oak's good beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a rum, and I think they were one of the first to do it on the East Coast. This beer was probably from like 27, 28. And kind of got lost in the shuffle downstairs, and I found it, 10 months later. And the way the rum had married into the stout had just blown me away. It was unbelievable.
That's crazy.
And at that point, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start taking beer that has the ability to age. And at that time, BCBS hadn't made it to the market yet.
Right.
Right.
But I'm gonna start actually putting stuff aside and letting it develop over time.
Well, that's definitely something to do. I've definitely tried to curate my own over the years, and a decent one now. But I'm sure it's nothing like yours. So
you probably don't have nearly as much brewery as he has.
I don't think brewery has as much brewery as he has. The family brew calls him when they need extra beers. Yeah. So obviously you're a big brewery, BRUERY fan. and yeah, I've indulged in several there. You've been gracious enough to crack open for us when we've been there. But
Oh yeah.
yeah. In fact, one of them I had after another one we'll talk about in a little bit when we get to the top threes. But in any event, they're just amazing beers. There's nothing else to be said about that. But anything you cellar, I've had some things I can mention. Like just something as simple as like not that it's simple by any means, but like Weyerbacher. We brought this up on the Weyerbacher show, or not the Weyerbacher show.
We had a Weyerbacher show.
We didn't have a Weyerbacher show. No, we had a Weyerbacher brewer on the show who's now part owner of Source Brewing.
That would be Greg.
That would be Greg. We talked about it with him. I had somebody brought over to a bottle share we had. Probably it was 10 years old at the time. It was a bottle of from '05. It was a bottle of Decadence from Weyerbacher, and it was 10. He sat on it for 10 years. My God, this thing was amazing. I said it before and I'll say it again. I literally, when we were done with it, I wanted to crack the bottle open and lick the inside of the glass. It was that good. It was so good. It was crazy good. But in any event, why don't we pour our other beers? Ryan, I know you're still drinking. You're still enjoying your 12.5%.
His first beer is his second beer.
His first beer is his second beer. I'm gonna jump in with my shirt and Ryan's beer, and I'm gonna open up a Kane. I'm going to open up Through the Empty Space. It's an Imperial Oatmeal Stout.
Just a quick question.
Open that up while you ask that quick programming note question. Go ahead.
I'm frozen on my screen. Am I frozen on your screen?
Yes,
video?
you are.
Yeah, you're frozen solid.
It's a beautiful, beautiful pose I've got going there, though. I think. I like that.
Must have been that 7-degree wind chill this morning.
It's either that or like it looks like I was pre-gaming the podcast.
I actually took a screenshot of it just now, so I can use that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Oh, this is good. This means I can eat without anybody seeing me.
You can eat without they'll hear you, though. So.
Maybe doing what?
Exactly. So what beer are you eating now, Dave?
Well, I'm going to follow suit so that all three of us are drinking the same brewery. So I'm going with the Kane. I'd show you the can, but that's not working.
There you go.
And there's this one you gave me, John.
It's one I gave you.
Yeah. This would be Kane's Dropping Fruit Pie.
That is a good beer.
So again, I'm drinking something pink. I really should talk to my shrink about this.
I think you should. You got a pink beer fetish all of a sudden.
I drink way too many pink beers on this show.
Can you imagine if you told somebody 15 years ago that they were going to drink a pink beer?
Right. Well, you can't see it, but I am drinking it with the pinky out.
Why don't here? You know what? I'll remove you and then put you back on. Hold on one second. Maybe that'll work. Oh, now you're totally gone.
I mean, I don't know what my grandfather would think about a pink beer.
That would be interesting to find out.
He would say this beer is. I'd say this beer is for a woman, but I can't
to say what he was thinking on the air.
I know what my I don't know what my grandfather would think about a pink beer either. I know what my father thinks about pink beers. But
well, he's a brand loyal guy, though, right?
Yeah, my father's a brand loyal guy. Yeah. So, why don't you, Dave? Why don't you leave and come back? That might.
I'm gonna give that a shot. If I can find my mouse. I didn't eat my mouse. Okay, that's good.
You might have eaten it. Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
Just leave and come right back in.
I'm gonna dump out a StreamYard. Use the same link to come back in. Right.
That's all you got to do. Yep.
Okay,
exactly.
be right back, folks.
All right. All right. Now that Dave's gone,
I should have poured myself a flight for this podcast.
There you go. You could have done that. No, but hey, one bigger bottle of a 12.5% barrel aged brown ale. I think here's.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Good. Delicious.
Actually, we had a few weeks ago. We had Sergio from Melavino on, and we drank meads.
Nice.
That was a fun show. 14% meads. And Dave's device is not connected. Dave, if you can hear, leave and come back again. I'll just
Dave's officially in the abyss.
Dave's in the abyss. We'll see if we can get him back on. So while Dave's missing, I'll wax nostalgic with you. You're some of the food. Let's talk about some of the food there for a little bit.
Yeah.
Where do you get some of the recipes, if you will. Oh, wait, here, I think we got him back. There he goes.
Hey. All right.
I was just asking Ryan really quick about some of the food, and the reason I was going to get to it was I'll cut to the chase. The 50-50 burger.
So I have to rewind because I wouldn't be doing the Cloverleaf Tavern justice if I didn't mention
Rewind all you need to.
Our signature 24-ounce shell steak back in the day.
Oh, go for it.
And like we've always been a community-driven business, so we're kind of adapting to what the consumer wants, what the consumer enjoys. We're carefully tracking our numbers. And back when I was younger, my father used to serve a 24-ounce shell steak, and this thing back in the day when meat prices were relatively inexpensive. He was when I remember the 24-ounce shell steak being on the menu for $6.95.
Oh, jeez.
So and then every couple of years it would go up. So it was $7.95, then it was $8.95, then it was $10.95. And I think when I was in high school, it was still like $10.95 or $11.95. I mean, something absurd. And and we would sell, sometimes on the weekends we'd sell up to like 250, 300 of these sticks. It was like absolutely insane.
That's a lot of cow.
That's a lot.
Absolutely. Now, while and then in the early '90s, this whole thing took place where portion sizes, fat content, red meat, things like that, and those sales tailed off, and then our burger sales kind of took over. People really enjoyed our burger. We had it ground fresh locally. We had our bread baked locally, so people really started to dig our burgers. To where we actually created a specific area in our menu for burgers. And then at some point I'm like, well, if our burgers are so popular and, people love our burgers so much, we really need to kind of up our game and create something that's super unique and something that's super special. And, what better than bacon, right? So, let's try grinding up bacon and doing 50% ground bacon, 50% ground beef, blending them together and,
create,
this awesome bacon fusion burger.
Top
it with some guacamole, throw on some more bacon, add a pretzel roll, and in my eyes, you got your perfect burger.
Sure.
And you just, now did that start off on the menu or did that start off as a burger of the week?
No, that was a burger of the week, and it was, by far one of our best-selling burgers of the week, so much so that it needed to go directly onto the menu.
Absolutely.
That's how I remember.
I was so happy when it went directly onto the menu.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I never had to make a decision of what I wanted to eat anymore.
And then they started coming up with burgers and then letting the customers name them.
Yep. So burgers of the week were super important to us. Fish and chips, especially during this time of year around the Lent season, our fish and chips are absolutely phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Fresh beer batter.
Absolutely. I can
fresh
attest to
cod.
it.
People absolutely love the fish and chips here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big component of our sales as well.
And I still need to get in the next time that you have the crab meat dip covered pretzel.
The breadliest catch.
Oh. Oof. Yeah, because I love both.
Brian just said Dave looks even better now, and I'm pretty sure that comment was from a few minutes ago when you were frozen.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain. Actually, no, it's probably when it was blacked out.
There you go. It might have been that.
Mm-hmm.
And then Gene said, "Hey, Ryan."
What's up, Gene?
Hey, Gene's in.
And then Brian said, "Gene Lynch in the house."
In the house.
In the house. There you go. All right.
We got Brian Altschul going all street on us.
Brian's showing his straight out of Cedar Grove.
Now we just need the Carden brothers to join us.
Exactly, Augie.
Don't say his name 3 times, please.
Augie Carden. Is he going to pop up? Let's see. All right.
And they're cousins, not brothers.
Will I get a text? Brothers and beer. Brothers and beer. Brothers and beer.
And business.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So, well, speaking of cellars and speaking of aging beers and speaking of vintage beers, why don't we shift to our 33s? Ryan, we named this segment 33s after the 1933, the repeal prohibition year.
Awesome.
We can also call it for this show. We can say we named it after the year that you your establishment was founded. So, and what we do is we do a top 3 list. We each do a top 3 list in the same category. We pick top 3s, obviously with 33s, and also because top 10 lists would take too long. So,
and I don't know that my top 3 has changed at least 4 times during this conversation.
There you go.
I mean, I was thinking about it. It was tough for me to get a final 3, but
it was hard for me to get a final 3, but I went with these. So
we have ways of cheating. We like to do things like, I would have put this on the list, but
yeah, when we have like 5 that make the top 3, we always say, this one almost made it. So
sometimes a 3 is a 3 plus.
Sometimes a 3 is a 3 plus. Yeah, exactly. So. So why don't, in honor of you being our guest today, why don't, and also the originator of the 33, if you will, why don't you go first with your top 3s?
All right, great. Well, so at the bottom.
Did you wait a second before you did you tell the audience?
I did not. I'm sorry, I did not. You're right. Absolutely.
Let the audience know what we're talking about.
Well, I started to, and then I went right to that. Like I said, in honor of cellaring beers and vintage beers. Tonight's top 3 list is top 3 favorite vintage beers that we've ever had. So there you go.
All right. Well, at the bottom of the top of my list, coming in at number 3, would be the Bourbon County Stout. I got to pay tribute to them. We're going back to pre-takeover here.
Sure.
When they were making
nice caveat.
Bourbon County, but Bourbon County Stout was the pioneer of the barrel aged beer. And it was actually the first barrel aged beer that I've ever had in my life. It was brought to me by one of our customers, Bill Brophy. He had brought me a bottle back when it had the original labeling on it. Sure. And the first time I had that beer just kind of blew me away, having it already, I mean, when you first have it, it's already a year old technically. Sure. And then having that with age on it is just such an amazing experience. So, that's super, super special for me. Obviously the smoke from the oak that I had from Captain Lawrence, which actually taught me about the importance of cellaring beer is number 2 for me. Gotcha. That's, it's kind of stumbling on that by mistake and realizing how much a beer can develop. I mean, even certain beers are actually, you can realize that, hey, this beer isn't the best until it actually has age on it.
Right.
So, that was a really kind of eye-opening experience for me. So that kind of holds a special place in my heart. And number 1 on the list is one that's still unavailable here in the States is a West Veteran 12. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So the Westie 12, my brother was stationed in London for years. And, for those who aren't familiar with West Veteran, in Belgium, it's one of the Trappist breweries. It's extremely difficult to get that beer. You have to call a phone number, which could ring busy. And then when you finally get through, you're allowed to put your license plate on the list. Once you're on that list, you then drive to the brewery on a selected date. You're allowed to pick up 1 case of the beer, and you're only allowed 1 case per month per license plate. So my brother would take trips down there, and he would pick up a case a month. And as nice as he was, I think during the 24 months that he was there and the 24 cases that he picked up, I think I got 4 of those bottles. The rest was shared between him and eBay.
Yeah, exactly.
The gray market.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is that, the first time he went down there, he pulls up and, they bring the beer out. You open your trunk, they put the beer in the back. And, the monk came out, he put the beer in the trunk and my brother goes, hey, he goes, here. And he reaches in his pocket, he takes out 100. He goes, can you throw another case in there? And he goes, sir, I'm so sorry. I cannot accept that, but I can accept it as a donation. So I can't give you the beer, but I can accept your $100 as a kind donation.
Well played, brother. Well played.
He got 100, and off he went with just 1 case of beer. But But that beer, that Westy 12 with a couple years times on it is absolutely. I mean, just the beer itself, if you haven't had it,
Sure.
is one to definitely have. But that beer with age on it is special.
It is such a good beer. I've had it. I've been fortunate enough to. I've had it twice. So, but it's it's crazy. It is very good. Both times I don't think there was any age on it though. Well, I mean, maybe a little bit, whatever it was from there, and then however long it was sitting until I got it. But it wasn't aged for like 2 or 3 years. It was, probably like 6 months out of the brewery.
Yeah, who lets that beer sit?
Really? That's awesome. Dave, you want to go next? You want me to go?
You go. I'm still formulating my 3.
Still working on it.
Still working on it.
I just noticed here's the Beer Samurai Redux. There you go.
Yeah, you just caught that?
I just caught that.
Yeah, you got to remind me to change it before the next show.
There you go. Yeah, change that. So we're my 3. Oddly enough, 2 of them. Well, I'll say it as I get to them. My number 3, in the same order you did them, Ryan, would be Rodenbach Vintage 2007. I think it was barrel number 203. It's a Flanders Red for anybody that is not aware. Such a good beer. I actually had it in 2013 at the Cloverleaf. So, and it was it's definitely in the top 3, and I placed it at number 3 right now. Crazy good. I mean, Rodenbach beers are just insane, and
absolutely.
I've never had a Rodenbach I didn't like. Actually, I should say love. But that one was very, very special.
Somewhere I've got a Rodenbach tin sign that I got at one of the, I think it was one of the, what's it called, NBA nights.
There you go. My number 2 is from Three Floyds in Munster, Indiana. It was a Dark Lord, which is a bourbon barrel-aged stout. For any of you out there that don't know what I'm talking about, I'm sure all of you know what I'm talking about if anybody's listening. But it was 2006, and I had it in 2012.
Which I said it before, it stuns me because so many of the Dark Lords go, they become, some of them, all the ones that I've had that were aged were soy sauce within 2 years.
This was amazing, and
That's great.
I can probably guess that it was extra well cared for because it was. I'll tell the story really quick. It's my cousin Adam, sitting home on a Friday night. Not expecting anybody. About 9:30 at night, knock on the door. I'm like, who the hell's that? I don't know. Open the door. It's my cousin Adam. He's got his hand behind his back. He's got both hands behind his back, actually. He's just smiling. Not saying a word. I'm like, everything all right? And he's just smiling. I'm like, what's going on? You want to come in? He's just smiling. I'm like, what's up? Finally takes his hand out, his right hand out, and he's got a 2006. This is, like I said, 2012, so it was 6 years old. Pulls out a 2006 Dark Lord. And I'm like, come in. Wait a minute. What's in your other hand? He pulled out an 04 stick and jab from Heavyweight. So we had both of those that night.
This is what I was telling you about how we sneak in a fourth and a fifth.
The fourth and the fifth. But no, the Dark Lord, it was amazing, and he cared for his beers. He cares for his beers. So it was amazing. My number 1 beer, vintage beer that I've ever had. I had poured at the hands of the gentleman that is on our podcast guest tonight at the Cloverleaf Tavern in 2015. It was a 1994 Sam Adams Triple Bock, and it was the most amazing beer, I got to be honest, that I've ever had. The complexities of this beer sitting on it, and it was what, 21 years old at that point. In fact, I think on my post, I actually went back and looked at my Untapped post. Somebody actually commented that beer is actually legal to drink right now because it was 21 years old anyway. But it was amazing. It was amazing, and I thank you for it, and also Matt for having his birthday that day because that's why you opened it. So,
yeah.
But that was great. Those are my top 3. There you go. Samurai.
Dave needs another 15 minutes.
Maybe, but I'm going in. And I'm going to.
Brian gave us his top 3 too, so we'll do his afterwards. So.
Okay, we'll do his afterwards. I'm going to start off my number 3 with Hunapoo, and I'm not going to give a particular year or how old it was because, when you get the privilege to go to Hunapoo, they like to serve on tap vintage Hunapoos. So that's why I'm not going to give a year. Every year that I went, you go through the catalog of 1, 2, 3-year-old Hunapus, and just as the years go by, all the different flavors, the cinnamon, the chocolate, the chili, they all start to meld, and it smooths out considerably. A brand new Hunapu is, for lack of a better word, and it's a term we all use, hot. And so you give a few years in a Hunapu, everything just marries up beautifully on it. So that's my number 3. My number 2.
Dave, can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
So you mentioned that they have vintage on draft.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing like the New Jersey market hasn't fully embraced yet, because when I was out at Michigan for their beer festival, the majority of the breweries that were actually at beer festivals were carrying multiple vintages. And some had vintages 5, 6, 7 years back at the beer festival. Sharing these 6, 7-year-old vintage beers with these people that just bought a ticket. You know what I mean? And you could sit there and sample this 7-year-old masterpiece, and it's it's still something we have yet to embrace. Is like that is really like full vintage.
Right. But maybe we need like a vintage beer fest.
Vintage beer fest.
Yeah. Can you imagine the price of that ticket?
Right. But then my number 2, I went back and forth. The 2 that I was considering were both had at Cloverleaf, and I mentioned before we came on the show, I was talking about the Lambics, which was a 2-year-old Lambics. I looked up who made Lambics. They were a blendery in New York, something in DeWolf, right?
Right.
I can't remember the first name, but as good as that was, when you mentioned the Dogfish Head Tap Takeover, now this was not the first one, because even though you did have some vintage there, you did not have at the time, because this was at a Tap Takeover in, I believe, 2015. You had 2011 Fort on tap. And Fort, people don't know Dogfish Head Fort. This is it's a 12% raspberry beer.
Unbelievable.
So when you put years on that, initially the raspberry it's a hot beer to begin with, right?
Right.
It's 12%. Of course, it's going to be hot. You put some years on it, some of that heat comes off of it, but the flavor of the raspberry matures.
Yeah.
Darkens, if that makes any sense. But in my mind, that's how I think of it. And that was just a fantastic experience that night. And I think of that particular Tap Takeover for Dogfish Head, that's the one that stood out for me. That was amazing. But number one, and I promised Gene Lynch would be mentioned again in the show. There was a beer festival in New Jersey. It may have been Allison's first beer festival, as a matter of fact. I pre-gamed it first. I pre-gamed the festival at the Cloverleaf. So Leon, the senpai, and I were at Cloverleaf beforehand. And then we went to the festival, and I had promised to show up at Hot Rods to see Chris Weisner. And I was bringing, just like John mentioned it with his number 1, it's the same beer, 1994 Sam Adams Triple Bock. And I brought it there, and Chris had invited Gene to come by. He asked me if he can invite a few people. So Gene stopped in for that, and that's when I got to meet Gene. He also was text taunting one of your old employees, Ryan. Yeah, see, Gene remembers.
He said yes.
He was Chris.
Yes, about text taunting.
No. but Chris was text taunting Scott Crystal.
Oh, jeez.
Okay.
That we had in 1994, and Scott was like, "Oh, well, yeah, good luck with that. Those all went bad. This one did not go bad. It was corked.
Yeah.
We'll admit it was corked. We had to strain it.
Yeah.
But once you strain the cork out of it, it was just absolutely smooth, fantastic. Yeah, that age hint of leather in there.
Yeah.
That was a very special beer and one of the more memorable ones. And I don't want to downplay the fact that it was probably special because it was the day I met Gene Lynch. So
there you go.
You can't downplay that.
It's you got to remember what day that was because that can be your anniversary now with Gene. So
Right.
I'm not
They want to
exchanging.
plan a Tap Takeover around that anniversary.
There we go.
Samurai and Gene.
Ryan and I at one point.
Samurai and Beer Genie's. Beer Samurai and Beer Genie's.
There you go.
Tap Takeover.
Ryan and I at one point
Anniversary
we were planning what was Samurai Day. Remember that?
Yeah.
The anniversary of the first time I came in, and we were going to put because it was like when I first showed up at Cloverleaf was one of the last times you ever had. Love you too, Gene. One of the last times you had Delirium Tremens on tap.
Delirium Tremens, yeah.
Because I think that may have, if it wasn't the first, it was the second beer I ever drank at Cloverleaf.
Delirium Tremens, yeah.
Yep, on tap.
That's crazy. Delirium Tremens on tap is pretty damn.
And
good.
that's
insane.
I mean, back when we used to carry that on draft, so underappreciated.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
So
It's definitely
underappreciated.
The first time I ever had, I had it on tap at the Cloverleaf. The first time I ever had Delirium Tremens on tap was actually at Foley's, which is now gone, sadly, on 35th, East 35th in the city. Whatchamacallit? Sean Foley was the owner. He it was a big baseball tribute bar, basically. It was a huge baseball history fan. He had jerseys and baseballs signed from everybody that you could even think of. I mean, just baseballs.
So what was the draw for you?
No, but imagine that. Yeah, right. He actually had and I don't mean to disgusting by any means. I'm not really, but in the men's room, the 3 urinals were actually marble urinals that he bought out of the old original Waldorf Astoria and put them in the bathroom there. They were crazy. So he was a big history buff on a lot of things. But that was the first time I ever had Delirium Tremens on tap, just to mention that. But in any event, whatchamacallit, I'll get Brian's beers up here.
Yeah, I've got Brian's up there.
Right there. His 3 are Firestone Walker 15th anniversary in 2016 he had. Worldwide Stout 2010 that he had a month ago. And 2007 Bigfoot at my house. So there you go. 2007 Bigfoot at my house was pretty damn good. I have to admit, it was.
Yeah, TFTI.
It's a beer, Dave. Thanks for the invite. I know.
Yeah,
you probably were invited, actually.
I probably was.
You probably were. So, anyway, well, you know what? There's just so many. Dave's right. I mean, it could go on and on and on about, what do we? What's our top 3? I mean, there's probably 30. Could be 30 on my top 3. But definitely without blowing any smoke, 2 of my top 3 that I narrowed it down to, were consumed at your establishment there, Ryan. So.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Two of my top 4 or 5 were there, and the one, the Lambics, that was the first beer dinner that you guys had put on with Ale Street News.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was another vintage beer there that we won't mention because I don't think you were supposed to have it because you couldn't advertise it.
Right.
So we won't even say that because I don't know what the statute of limitations are.
Yeah, we're beyond that.
We're beyond that because New Belgium is now in New Jersey. So right.
This is true.
So it was what was it? It was like a 3-year-old La Folie.
Yeah, that was unbelievable.
That was fantastic too.
That beer is unbelievable. Yeah.
That La Folie is a great beer, and Tony brought that.
Yeah,
you said right, and that's 2 weeks in a row that Tony Forder has been mentioned on the podcast. By the way,
yeah, we got to get out of that habit.
John Hall was on last week, and we had a little discussion about L Street then.
Yeah, because L Street News is not big enough to ask for sponsorship.
So. We still got to get in touch with Tony and have him get John get him a slice, right?
Yes, he's got to get
John Hall a slice of pizza.
Because he owes John a slice of pizza.
Anyway, all right. Anything coming up?
Before you do that, I'm pretty certain that John Hall would take a 50-50 burger in lieu of that.
He probably would. Yeah. He probably would take a 50-50 burger in lieu of the slice of pizza. So Tony, whichever you want, whichever you prefer, get in touch with John. Work that out. Anything interesting coming down the pike?
We have our crosshair set on St. Patrick's Day, so around this time of year, we are 100% focused on. Well,
you're focused on that twice a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually twice a year. This one's the big one, especially last year we got shut down last year we shut down the day before St. Patrick's Day.
Sure.
We ended up going curbside for St. Patrick's Day,
Right.
which again was our first time executing such an event. Thankfully, we sold out of corned beef that night, but it was something it wasn't fun for us, I mean,
Right, the social aspect with everybody in there and enjoying everything. That's what it's about. So
so we have that, and then on the horizons we have we'll have access to the tent, so we hope to do a like a New Jersey beer food pairing with maybe even bringing in some of the local restaurants in Caldwell to help them out as well.
Great.
Do something like that, and then obviously our Kane takeover got pushed from February to April, so that'll be right around the corner as well.
That is great. That is awesome, and I'm glad everything's.
If you're not writing this stuff down, just like Facebook, like a Cloverleaf on Facebook, and you'll get all the updates.
Absolutely. I still get all the updates, even though I'm an hour and change away. So
and sign up for the text messages because you'll get those.
Oh yeah.
There were so many things when I moved to Rhode Island for that year that I put stop on. I just never had the heart to put stop on Cloverleaf, and I still get all the text messages from Cloverleaf. As much as it hurt to read that and go, oh, I wish I was there.
We still get all the text messages from Cloverleaf too. Jess and I look at each other and say, "You want to take a ride today?" So it's great. But in any event,
who's closer to Cloverleaf now, you or me? I think I am.
Oh,
right?
you're much closer. You're
much.
Much from where you are now. Absolutely, you're much closer. You're only about a half an hour away. I'm at least an hour away.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So, but in any event, you got to shout out 280.
This is true.
I come all the way up the Parkway and hit 280. So
280's right over there.
There you go. But in any event, well, this was great. Having you on. I really appreciate you coming on with us.
Yeah, appreciate you guys, man. It was great catching up with you guys and being on the show. I appreciate it.
No, definitely. I really appreciate all you've done. Well, for me and Jess personally, but for Dave and I and everybody in the craft beer community.
And the town of Caldwell.
And the town of Caldwell for everything you've done, beer-wise, food-wise, and otherwise. Thank you very much for everything.
Yeah, that's our goal is obviously community, but education, beer education. We really want people to come in, have an experience, pair that with great food and really discover how, there's beer by itself, there's beer with food, there's a combination of both.
Absolutely.
There's always, I truly believe this, that there's always something for everybody out there, even the people that say, I do not like beer, I won't drink beer, there's always something for them, So
fully agree.
We'll always continue to do that, and we'll always continue to support the community and educate. That's
great. That's awesome. And Bill just said that he has knee replaced yesterday and the Cloverleaf for dinner tonight. So there you go. So did you crutch it up there tonight, Bill, or you did pick up? What was it? So, but yeah, no, everything you do for the community is just amazing. It really is. And for years, even before anything, it was just crazy good. And thank you very much for all of that. And again, thanks for coming on the show. I'd love to have you back at some point too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Any conversations we have with everybody, brings a different aspect and different take on craft beer, and your stories are just very educational and enjoyable and entertaining and everything else. And Bill, just to let you know, Connor is picking it up right now, so there you go. But anyway, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it, and maybe at some point we'll figure out a
well, if they've got the tent.
We'll figure out a tap takeover or something. We can do a live show from the Cloverleaf.
We may have to do Samurai Night with Delirium Tremens.
We'll do Samurai Night with Delirium Tremens and La Follette. And we'll
get Tony there too. We figured out what that date was, and I think because that date was well before Untapped, so I can't even look it up that way, but it might be on Beer Advocate.
All right, we'll find the date for me.
We'll have to check it out, and we'll have to do that. Anyway, again, thanks for coming on. And we'll do this. We'll definitely do this again soon.
Great, thank you guys.
And again, hopefully at the restaurant.
Absolutely,
yeah,
at the restaurant.
That'd be fun.
Don't go anywhere. When we end the show, we'll BS with you for a couple of seconds.
We got to go through the John spiel.
We got to go through the spiel first. Here we go.
Yeah, here we go.
Anyway,
Wait
all
for
right.
This is impressive. Watch this.
We'll wrap the show up for today. Anyway, we want to thank everybody for watching, and for those of you listening to the audio podcast, thanks for listening. Don't forget to visit our website, www.logroom.com. That's LAGERROOM.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our YouTube channel. All of them are at The Lager Room. Remember, we go live with the video podcast on both Facebook and YouTube every Tuesday. Starting next week, folks, it's at 6:30.
You said that last week.
I know, but I'm saying it for real tonight. Starting next week, folks, it's 6:30. It moves to 6:30 starting next week, every Tuesday. For those of you that want to just listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, and Stitcher. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds, and you will never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a wonderful rest of the week. Enjoy your weekend. Ryan, thanks again for coming on with us. Appreciate it. And we will talk to you soon, guys. Take care. Cheers.
Bye, guys.